However, this solicitude was an isolated incident. There are many instances when the opposite also took place. One day, Sub-Registrar Narayana Iyer told me, it has also been written in an article published by the ashram, that he and another devotee, T.P. Ramachandra Iyer, wanted an explanation from Bhagwan of the 6th verse of Bhagwan's 8 verses on Arunachala. When they entered the hall with the book open, they saw Muruganar prostrating before Bhagwan and taking leave to go into the town to beg. One of the attendants reported, Bhagwan, we just ground a jackfruit to make a dessert for lunch. Muruganar gave us money for the bhiksha because it is his mother's anniversary. We feel terrible that Muruganar has to still go to the town and beg. Bhagwan's expression changed and he replied coolly, Yes, whose responsibility is it to invite Muruganar to stay and eat with us? It is the duty of the authorities. Muruganar went to beg. The intention here is not to point out the harshness of the management, but to illustrate how Bhagwan was solely concerned with Muruganar's spiritual emancipation. Whether he had eaten or not, or whether physical comforts were available or not, was immaterial. Bhagwan's whole attention was focused on seeing that Muruganar led an austere life established in the truth. Muruganar is the link between Bhagwan, the truth, and us, ignorance. If it was not for his living example, we would have thought Bhagwan to be an unattainable ideal like Buddha or Jesus Christ. Had Muruganar not lived a whole life of austerity, purity, and self-knowledge through self-enquiry, however much we try to intellectualize and understand Maharshi's teaching of self-enquiry as the direct path, we would have missed the point. Muruganar lived the teachings and showed us that though he was just like us, it was possible to lead a pure life totally dedicated to the teaching, and the Master poured all his grace on him. There are a few more incidents to show us the closeness of Muruganar with Bhagwan. There was not only harsh discipline, but humor too in their relationship. Muruganar and Bhagwan would cut vegetables in the morning along with the other sadhus. One day, they were chopping spinach. Bhagwan was very careful to cut the root and separate the leaves from the stems. He cooked each part differently and made sure that nothing was thrown away. Bhagwan started talking about his days up on the hill, particularly about an ascetic lady who lived there too. She was called Kirai Pati, meaning spinach granny, because she collected various kinds of spinach for cooking. Bhagwan narrated how knowledgeable she was about every herb on the hill, knowing its name, content, and benefit. When Bhagwan had finished, he observed that Muruganar's chopping of the spinach was shabby. Bhagwan wryly observed, Your skill in chopping spinach is striking as your success in running your household. Muruganar had run away from family life and hence felt a bit hurt by Bhagwan's words. He then wrote a poem and placed it before Bhagwan, who was very amused on reading it. All the onlookers curiously asked Bhagwan what he was smiling at. Bhagwan read out the poem. O Ramana, you are an extraordinarily efficient person. Yes, why don't you then marry an equally efficient young maiden and set up home? Why should you be wandering around as a mendicant in a loincloth, begging food, when you could easily have set up an ideal household? Bhagwan laughed heartily, and the others joined him in his mirth. Once an herbal oil was being made at the ashram. When it was ready, it had to be filtered by pouring it on a cloth spread across a large vessel. Bhagwan held the cloth and asked Muruganar to pour the oil into it with a ladle. Bhagwan was talking about these herbs, some of which could even make one disappear from one place and appear in another. So rapt he was by Bhagwan's stories that Muruganar continued to pour the oil without noticing that it had begun to overflow. Bhagwan was attentive and efficient, so he chided him, saying, Stop! What are you doing? You are spilling the oil. You are so careless. Then, to pacify him, he added cajolingly, Come now, take the spilled oil and smear it on your head. Who will give you such good costly herbal oil? Go on and put it on your scalp. Muruganar's attention was still riveted to Bhagwan, so he scraped up mud from the ground. Bhagwan quickly said, Hey, stop! I asked you to put the oil on your scalp, not mud. This is the Guru-disciple relationship. The Guru's grace not only awakens the highest wisdom, but also oversees the welfare of the devotees. By 1926, Muruganar had left his wife Meenakshi in Chennai to join the ashram. Gentle, innocent Meenakshi was an uneducated lady who had no means of supporting herself. Not knowing how to tackle the world, she would stay with her father for some time and then come to Tiruvannamalai to beg Muruganar to live with her. Whenever this happened, Muruganar would disappear up the hill, and it was always a tough task for even Bhagwan to find him. Each time he had to send 4 people after him for 3 whole days to bring him back. Finally, Bhagwan pleaded with Muruganar to comply with Meenakshi. Muruganar was so stubborn that he ran away into the hills once more. So Bhagwan found another way to soothe Meenakshi. He took special care of Meenakshi. When I met her, she told me of many instances of her direct experiences with Bhagwan. I requested her to put all of them in writing, which she did in Tamil in a notebook that is now in the archives of the ashram. One incident mentioned in the book particularly touched my heart. One day Bhagwan asked Meenakshi, "Meenakshi, what can I do for you?" Meenakshi showed him her torn sari. "Look at my sari. What do I want? I want clothes and food to eat which have been denied to me because my husband is not taking care of me." Bhagwan was so moved that he said, "Meenakshi, I assure you that all your life there will be no dearth of these 2 things, clothes and food." Bhagwan did not stop with just this verbal assurance. He sent Kunju Swami to the head of the Ishanya Mutt in town to ask for a sari. A master in a loincloth, who seldom asked for anything for himself, sent a sannyasi to another sannyasi to beg for a sari for a devotee's wife. He then offered it to her with the repeated assurance, "Meenakshi, you will be happy. You will be provided with clothes and food all your life." When she narrated this in the 1960s, I started taking care of her. I would send her 2 saris every year. She was not a spiritually inclined person and could not stay in Ramanashram. She preferred to stay in Chennai. So I arranged for her to be given food in 7 houses, 1 for each day of every week. When I came to know that Meenakshi was on her deathbed, I went to Chennai to spend some time with her. She blessed me profusely. I asked her, "Meenakshi Amma, how are you?" Her stomach was swollen. She said, "I am very happy." I could not believe her. She added, "Bhagwan is with me all the time and has fulfilled his assurance to me through you. I have no dearth of clothes or food. Ganesha, Bhagwan is God himself." Meenakshi could not have a happy life as Muruganar's wife, but she was always happy until her last moments as Bhagwan's pet child. It was a privilege for me to interact with her and be of some service to her.